Oh. Hey, welcome back to another week of message recap here with Austin Morgan, and we're excited to kind of go somewhere.
Yeah. We were like, where do we go at first? And then we just started where we started talking. We're like, oh, okay, God, this is where you want us to go. And we discussed quickly an overview of like the chapters that we covered on Sunday, and then get into some application.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would say in the form of overview. So it was Easter,
Yeah.
and so we certainly went to the cross and the empty tomb. That was a important and big deal. But in Exodus, where we went is chapter 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, which is God actually speaking to Moses and giving him an outline for the tabernacle. And so I'm going to see. I was going to, yeah, there should be on the screen below us. You can't see it, but an overview again of the tabernacle via video. And that tabernacle is going to represent God's physical
Mhm.
manifest, which is a word we don't use in our vocabulary too much, but this idea that God has made himself fully available in
Yeah.
this spot. Not a thought, not a philosophy. God is actually physically, tangibly present. And there are then some instruments that will be ordained.
Mhm.
They will be consecrated. They will be made as a practice, a rhythm for the Hebrew people to dedicate their lives to the Lord. So
Yeah.
things like a lampstand, which, by the way, just like little time out. Few weeks from now, several weeks from now, we're actually on Wednesday night. We're going to dive into the tabernacle, and so we're not going to address these each
Yeah.
into every one by meaning, but they each have great symbolism. So we have the Ark of the Covenant, the lampstand. Then we talk about the tabernacle and all that goes into it. We move through the altar of incense, the veil. We talk about the Holy of Holies and the bread of presence. All of these really important things that are in there. One of the things that I'm processing through is all of these things represent a holy rhythm or a pattern
Mhm.
that the Hebrew people were called to engage in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the point was not, it wasn't a set of rules, it
Mhm.
wasn't a litmus test.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things I've been thinking a lot about, Ten Commandments, and then into these tabernacle, the tabernacle, and then the implementation of sacrifice and whatnot.
Mhm.
We sometimes look at things like the rules
Yeah.
and then religious, what some groups would call liturgy. Um, uh, we look at it as, oh man, that's rote and not relational, but God intended the whole thing
Yeah.
to be not only symbolic of relationship, but a pattern.
Mhm.
And that's the word I leaned into Sunday. A
Yep.
pattern
Yep.
by which a relationship is solidified. Because this we did this last week, but like free marriage advice, right?
Mhm.
A relationship without patterns,
Yeah.
without guarantees of connection and relationship, it's destined to fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so God built in a rhythm of relationship, and I like that. I probably
Yeah.
should have had that word before, rhythm
Rhythm.
of
That's good.
relationship.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'll pause.
Well, this whole thing, right? We can get wrapped up in, like you said, the Ten Commandments, the tabernacle of how it was supposed to be built,
Yeah.
and we miss the whole point. And Yahweh tells them, Exodus 25:8, make a sanctuary for me. It's not so that you can do the right thing, so that I may dwell
Yeah.
among you. It's all about Him being present, and then being able to be present with Yahweh. And so, man, this pattern of presence that you talked about, or rhythm of presence, I love that. We have to remember that that's what we have to do.
Right.
And before that, though, it has to become personal.
Hmm. Yeah.
because we can get in a pattern routine and forget that this is personal. I had a friend of mine share on Sunday that, wow, this message just spoke to me in a way that he hasn't felt in a long time. And I said, well, tell me about that. And he said, well, I realized that when you put your arms out side to side, that
Mm, yeah.
our body makes a cross. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and I'm the cross that Jesus bore. And it became personal for him in that moment that it's
Yeah.
his actions, it's our actions as people that were the weight of the world that Jesus felt. And it
Yeah.
was, then it becomes very personal. It's not just, oh, Jesus died for the sins of the world. Well, yes, that is true, but he died for Austin. He died for Chad. He
Yeah.
died for, the list of names goes on and on. And so before we can get into that rhythm or that pattern of presence, we have to recognize that this is personal.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
personal relationship, and we talk about that, but sometimes we need those awe moments of,
Yeah.
okay, Jesus, you did this for me. And so I just, that was just a little bit of a story that, has transpired this week. So
That's powerful. And it's always meaningful and helpful to know that things are resonating
yeah,
with individuals. One of the things that I'm struck with in that, uh, so I guess a call back to the Exodus pattern, right?
hmm
An Exodus
yeah,
pattern, which in so many ways mimics a pattern that we've talked about as a discipleship tool at South Lake Wales Church of God. We've outlined as the discipleship journey
yeah,
for the Hebrew people. They were called out, so God says, "I'm going to deliver you."
hmm
So they're delivered from something, and then they go through the process of becoming something, because
yeah,
God never just was like, "Oh, I'll take you out of this and put you in this." God was, well, and as we get then in 19 and 20, I've chosen you.
yeah, yeah,
And I said this in a message a couple weeks ago. All of the articles there of you, I have chosen you, are interestingly singular.
yeah,
So he's standing and speaking. God is literally speaking to the whole Hebrew people, but he says, "Chosen you," but you. It's
yeah,
personal. It is
yeah,
individual,
yeah,
but it's also corporate.
hmm
So God does choose us, and what does He choose us to be? He's chosen us to be His precious possession.
yeah, yeah,
That's number one. And so when we have an aha moment or an awe moment of, oh,
yeah,
He did that for me, that will change our heart, our mind,
hmm
hopefully our patterns, because
yeah,
ultimately that's the next. Because he chose us as a precious prize possession, calls us out to be holy, distinct, set
hmm
apart, and to be priests.
yeah,
That we are to actually represent Him. So He's called us out of slavery, and now He's reforming us
yeah, yeah,
into a holy, chosen, priestly people, but that takes a journey. And so
hmm
I think one of the things that we talk about is that requires, again, those rhythms of relationship.
yeah,
And if we don't have those, we might have the aha, but we can quickly find ourselves pursuing other
hmm
religion
yeah,
very
yeah.
quickly, because it's real easy to build a religion around our life and our rhythms. And so, uh, anyway, I'll pause there and let you give
Yeah,
any
well,
feedback.
so this was just kind of struck me. We're missing Jeremy. Love you, Jeremy. Shout out to
Yeah,
Jeremy. But he mentioned last night that he asked the question, how much of your time are you giving to God? That
yeah,
becomes a part of that pattern, that rhythm. Like if we're not giving our time to
yeah,
God, to his word, to serving, to being in community with other people, then it's ultimately going to fail. We
yeah,
are going to, because of our choices, are going to step away, step out
yeah,
of that relationship because we have to stay connected. So I think that's a good question for all of us. Like, how much of your time are you really giving to God? Is it just a Sunday morning? Which we all like to keep to an hour because we have other things going on. Let
yeah,
me just step on those toes.
yeah,
Why can't it? Never mind. I won't go there. But anyways, if it's just Sunday morning, there's an issue there.
yeah,
So in our discipleship journey. We talk about the recognition or the awe of God, that awe moment, which, like you said, Chad, I think the whole point of the Exodus is Yahweh was saying to the Hebrews, but also to Pharaoh, is like, this is who I am. I am
That's it.
who I am. This see me for who I am.
Yeah.
And then they have to go on this journey of inward and outward, and we talk about all those things. And so, not really a question, but I want to get like practical application. Like, how do we stay in those patterns? Um, I'll say for here at South, we have several ways that we encourage discipleship. We have Wednesday night opportunities. We
Yeah.
have our men's and women's ministries are now up and running again, and
Mm-hmm.
I see those as current strengths, but only growing strengths in our discipleship journey. Getting men and women together, unity between our two services, and then we love community groups. We love small group ministry, whether that is gender based or seasons of life, whatever it is. But getting in community, and this isn't just fellowship though. This is about going deeper in Scripture, growing deeper in your relationships, in that pattern of staying in the presence
Yeah.
of God.
Yeah.
Would you have anything to like add to that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm adding. I may just be um, um, validating the fact that I heard you.
Yeah,
Um, we've talked about this. At least I hope we've talked about this. I feel like I've talked about this, but one of the things you learn after almost 12 years in one place is you've said things a whole bunch of times, but you don't know how many times they've been heard.
yeah, yeah,
And that's just a pattern of
yeah.
of us being human. But I really think that discipleship happens on three levels.
Hmm.
I think there is what you started with, the individual
Yeah.
level. God calls my name, and I think of Exodus there. I think I'm going to put a mark here, and we may come back to this, but I think here Exodus chapter um, 31, and God. You just think about this. God has this nation of hundreds of thousands of
Hmm.
people,
Yeah.
and the Lord spoke to Moses and said, "Look, I've appointed by name.
Yeah.
I've appointed by name Bazalel, however you say his name correctly.
Yeah.
Jeremy, it's your fault because you're not here. So I'm gonna act like I'm talking to Jeremy. But with that being said, it's personal. It
Yeah.
starts
Yeah.
with me as an individual, and I say this with great love. I don't have anything to add to my marriage. I don't have anything to add to a group of people.
Hmm.
I don't have anything to contribute to the calling God's given me if I am not personally learning the rhythms of being in relationship with Him.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
go back to what those are in a little bit. Secondly, I think that this has to happen, and I'll put it in several ways. Um, in the Exodus story and the scriptural story, you're then part of a greater family.
Yeah. Yeah.
We won't even start yet with your family. We will start with we're a part of the we are a part of the Christian family,
Hmm.
and so that means we have an identity in that. So then let's then go. Our family
Yeah.
is a key. We have to be leading our family in that.
Yes. Yep.
That's why actually the first of the external commandments, the external, not just love God, is honor your mother and
Hmm.
your father. The
Yeah.
idea is if the family unit is solid and these things are being implemented, this is going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really vital. Next, though, you put it this way. So there's the personal, then what we'll call the corporate. We'll say that's church wide.
Hmm.
If you're not a part of a church, and I mean not I go to church. I mean you're a part of a church.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to have the right rhythms because that's where we learn them and
Yeah.
get them.
Yeah.
Then I'd go to what you said is that either mid-size or small group.
Hmm.
But I think that we need the mid-size because we need community.
Hmm.
We do need that relationship. We do need to just, in essence, almost have a place of a little bit bigger significance in being known. But then, frankly, we have to have accountability.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what those small groups, those community groups ultimately become. And you said they can't just be, fellowship. Um, Well, if by fellowship we actually mean, yeah, the model of fellowship that is actually outlined in Acts chapter 2, then yeah, we should do that kind of fellowship. It's very clear here. They devoted themselves
Hmm.
to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship.
Yep. Yep.
So meaning to one another through this teaching
The
of the
teaching.
apostles,
Yeah.
to the breaking of bread and prayer.
Mhm.
So there's food involved in this, but that is a breaking, a remembering of Christ there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we want to see people filled with awe and many wonders and signs. That's how
Hmm.
we start right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'll just use that as kind of the framing beginning spot of that I think is so important. So it happens personally. It happens in a mid-sized group. It happens in a small group.
Mhm.
We have to have some facet of all of these things happening.
I was just going to ask you. I was just going to say, I think I know the answer to this, but we can't have one without the other.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to. So I don't say that to offend people and say, well, I'm only a part of. No, we want everyone to grow,
yeah,
become like Jesus. That's our
that's it.
be, become, do. That's our model. That's our vision, our mission, whatever you want to call it. But we need aspects of all three of these. We have to have it personally.
Yeah,
We have to have it corporately. We have to show up to church, and we need to have a small group of people
yeah,
that
yeah.
that can hold us accountable.
And that can be formal or informal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and I genuinely mean that. Let me clarify all of
Mhm.
that. I really genuinely think that when it comes to the individual relationship with God, there are rhythms and habits that I have to form on my own, and we can again in a minute talk through those.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the mid-sized group and the small group, I think that's where it can be to some degree more informal.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and Jeremy said this a lot recently, I just have to really say in our culture, which is so busy and hectic,
Mhm.
we really need church. We need the corporate church community more than ever. And I would almost say that it is, we talk about in health and nutrition that the most important meal of the day is breakfast.
Mm.
And I know some people want to argue that. I'm just going to use the cliche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most healthiest meal or the most important meal of the day. I would almost say that of the three, this is controversial, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. That maybe the thing that is the biggest anchor, most important, is maybe that gathering together corporately.
Mhm.
One, because it's what the Lord calls us to do,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
because it anchors the rest of what we do.
Yeah.
Like breakfast, if you start breakfast off correctly, and so is breakfast the most important meal of the day? If you grab a handful of cookies or a candy bar for breakfast, well, no,
No.
it's really not. You've wasted that.
Yeah.
So if you are choosing a healthy, nutrition filled diet, and by the way, I guess maybe church connects to that perfectly. If you just want a candy bar church that makes you
Mhm.
feel good for a little bit and a little sugar rush and woo,
Yeah.
I'm happy, you're probably going to have a pretty good crash at some
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
honestly. Just really honestly.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, if what you need is the nutrition of the word,
Yeah.
I think something will happen there. So with that, I really think that it is one of those anchoring habits,
Mhm.
anchoring meals throughout the week. And I'm really proud of a couple things. And proud does not mean pride, but proud of what we've been able to do in supplementing this series
Yeah.
with things like this, but then particularly with reading things each day short but meaningful,
Mhm.
taking things deeper. And I think if anybody's following along with that, that's like, oh, that's how it goes from corporate to personal
Yeah.
to then
Yeah.
potentially group level. Um, I just give you my ideal pattern or rhythm of relationship at South Lake Wales Church of God. This would be ideal, but
Mhm. Yeah.
just saying, people would join us on Sunday morning. They would personally follow along with the weekly reading plan. They would find a time, and I'd suggest, I'm just going to say this first thing each day, they would go through some of these things. They would put it in their heart. They would talk about it. They
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
text their friends about it. They would be a part of a mid-size or small group at some point during the week where they take it deeper, so that it is enmeshed into their life.
Yeah.
And that's how application happens.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, it would be corporate, private, group, and that would just
Mhm.
be a phenomenal way for that to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think of so many folks that are already doing
Yeah,
that, and like
yeah,
again, not proud in a prideful way, but like I'm proud of our church for understanding the mission.
yeah,
I'm gonna this. I don't know if this is off topic or not, but we talked about this early in the week, and I think it in doing these practices, these patterns, these rhythms, it helps us as a church live on mission.
yep,
So I'm gonna piggyback off of this, and if this is a rant, I apologize. But we talk about who's your one,
yeah,
and if you're not here on a regular basis, if you're not engaging in a small group, and not just these things, but it can be confusing. What does that mean? Who's your
yeah,
one? And we talked about the leaving the 99. Jesus left the 99 for the one. It's not it's not our friend that attends another church, other churches unnamed. It is the one person in our lives, or maybe more than one. I don't want to limit God to one person that God has placed in our lives that doesn't know Jesus or is estranged from Jesus, has not been in relationship for a while. This is how we use these patterns to then live on mission.
yeah.
And I don't know if that was a little rant or not, but I just want, as we um, continue to grow, and we are growing. Easter is one Sunday of many that we just continue to see new faces in both of our services. We need to be praying for that one. We need to live in boldness, to share, to live out, being practical, applying what we're learning on Sunday mornings to spread the gospel.
So, just to jump in and to reiterate, no, it's not a rant, and it's not even a tangent, because ultimately, what are the Hebrew people? They're called out of slavery.
Yeah,
Slavery clothes are burned,
yeah,
demolished.
yeah.
They are then brought into the wilderness where they're being formed to be a specific kind of people, to be realized they're precious,
Mhm.
they're chosen, and they're sent.
Yeah,
They're sent to be priests, and
yeah.
so it is our calling to make His name known.
Mhm.
That's their literal
Yeah.
job, and I can rant on that in a minute, but on His name, but. Luke 15 is what you were talking about. So y'all should just go read Luke 15.
Yeah.
Luke
Yeah.
15 is our definition of the one, and it really starts with the parable of lost sheep, and
Mhm.
we get the beautiful picture here, in verse number 7, that Jesus says, "Man, heaven rejoices, angels rejoice
Yeah.
over one lost person who comes home," and the idea there is He leaves a whole flock of not
Yeah.
lost sheep to find one
Mhm.
lost sheep.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we say, "Who's your one?" we're saying, who are you willing to passionately leave your comfort zone, your
Mhm.
flock, to go and minister to the one? And so our one, I mean, we should pray for people all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we should be
Absolutely.
really, um, um, we should really be like all over praying for our loved ones, our small group and whatnot. But when we're thinking about the lost one, we're not thinking of the person who is at XYZ church, and man, they're just not really pleased.
Mm.
Um, invite that person along, great, but that person's in the family of God.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
talking about a lost sheep who is not walking in relationship with God. Now, if that person is genuinely, dechurched, I mean, they've been a part of a church in the past, but they haven't gone in years, and
Yeah.
their lifestyle is far. That person can be your one, but what I see us Christians do far too much is, oh, it's way comfortable to invite my friend from ex Baptist church
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I want them to see our program.
Mhm.
Wonderful, but that is not the one.
That's not. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think we have to be really, really specific when we're talking about our one and what name are we representing? How do we do evangelism? This hit me this morning
Hmm.
as I was doing my own rhythm, and I have this chart in my Bible, and it's the names of God. So first on the name is Yahweh.
Mm.
But God uses several other descriptors throughout the scripture.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come back to Yahweh means I am, that I am who I am. So he also says Elohim.
Hmm.
He says Adonai. This honor and respect, God rules.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, God's presence with people. Kadesh, God's separateness, righteousness, holiness. Yahweh, Ruach, Numa, El Roy, El Shaddai. I mean, the
Mhm.
list goes on and on, and
Yeah.
those mean different things. Like God provides, God's superiority, God's power over all things. And one of the things I like is if you go back to Yahweh, the simple thing is, I
I
am.
am. I
I
am.
am
Yeah.
those things, and I just think that is such a powerful way. His name doesn't change.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
no. That's a great description.
Yeah.
It'd be like saying Austin is a great dad. Well, to your boys, your dad or
Hmm.
daddy.
Yeah.
But if I call you daddy, that's weird.
Super weird.
Super weird, right? I mean, the serial killer stalker
Yeah.
glasses make me, scared. But no. So what I'm saying is, we have descriptors,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you are Austin,
Yeah.
and so God has these descriptors, but I am. He
Hmm.
is all of those things at all times.
Yeah.
Whereas we can only be some things some of the time.
Yeah.
God is self-existent. A couple things I think we should probably give some practical, personal application to this, and then probably call it a day. But when we talk about rhythms, what are some of the rhythms practices that you're finding most helpful these days?
Mm, great question. In Leadership Focus, which again, that's the Church of God's ordination and licensing process, they encouraged us, I think, 2 courses ago to take on a new rhythm, take on a new practice. And mine was going to be prayer walks. But prayer walks didn't seem to work. And when I say that, it's just I got too busy.
They didn't work.
I was too, and it sounds bad. I was too busy for God. But what I found better, which I never thought I would actually be a rhythm that I would practice, is prayer journal.
Mm-hmm.
And so since actually I got deeper and deeper into it this fall, but I write in a prayer journal, and sometimes it's just needs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just gratitude. Sometimes it's just we were been sending back and forth for a while Puritan prayers. I would just write out bits and pieces of a Puritan prayer and then go back and read it.
Yeah.
I would write down answered prayers. So that's one rhythm for me. Another rhythm that Kaylee and I have picked up over the last couple of years, and I do encourage people to do this, but I also say I want to caution people, which is this: I listened through the Bible in a whole year,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't encourage someone to only do that, because you're not. It's a yes, I'm hearing the word, which is wonderful. I love it. I can say, oh, I've been to the Bible in a year, but to slow down,
Yeah.
to read smaller portions of the Bible, to take notes, to circle, whatever it is that works for you. But that's another practice that I do. And then something else that I've enjoyed through the Exodus series is I've gotten a Lectio Bible, which is John Mark Comer's Bible. It takes out all the headings, all the chapters and the numbers, and you read the Bible more like a novel. And it's amazing how much I can actually read and not be worried about what verse am I on. And it reads more like a true narrative. And I have really, really enjoyed doing that. Now, total confession, I've been kind of out of that practice for a few weeks now, just because I've gotten off track. But I will say that that's one of my new favorites, because again, it just reads like a novel or a book.
Awesome.
So
Let pause right there for a second. I think something really important to say is we get out of rhythms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no shame or guilt in getting out of a rhythm. And so your admission right there, that, yeah, I've gotten a little bit out of rhythm. I love that because I think sometimes what we do, it's kind of like nutrition plan, right?
Mm.
It's real easy to be like, wow, I really messed that up. May as well give up.
Yeah. Yep.
And one of the things I've nutritionally been really working on this year is, man, if I have a bad day where I eat things that I didn't plan to eat, that didn't ruin anything.
Mhm.
I start over.
Yeah.
If I have a whole
Yep.
bad weekend, which man, weekends are
It
hard eating.
happens.
Monday, I make a
Yep.
choice to give out, and I start small.
Yeah.
And so I would say that to everybody. You know, you mess up. I tell this story. I use the YouVersion Bible app in the mornings as part of what I do. But never forget, I was on my longest streak ever. They
Yeah.
keep this streak going, and I had like 500. Well, no, I know what I had. I had 541 days in a row, and I was,
Mm.
we went to Sierra Leone, and with the time change and the
Yeah. Yeah.
whatnot, I missed
Missed
a
it.
day. And you never believe the like in my heart when I opened it up and it said one.
1. Oh.
So I actually struggled with that for a long time and
Yeah.
realized that was pride. It was pride, and God kind of reminded me, one day in my courts,
Yeah.
one day in my presence is like 1,000 elsewhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that I'm just seeking for today.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that would maybe
Yeah.
be my thing is, uh, what is it? Seek it for today. What is it
Yeah.
for today? I just add to what you just said. For me, prayer is just growing in whatnot. And one of the things maybe nobody will believe is it. Well, I think they'll believe, but they just may like not intuitively believe about me since I preach pretty frequently. Is sometimes I feel like I have no words.
Mhm.
And that's where the Puritan prayers have become, and not just Puritan. I use that as one example. I've been using lots of truly ancient prayers,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they've really been giving me a vocabulary I didn't have before in prayer. And so one of the things I'd say is I think people would be pretty amazed how much power there is in not we're not just reading somebody else's prayer, we're praying
Yeah.
to God.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much they connect. So I think that is a phenomenal and an important thing. I'll just say this: studying the Word with a group of people, like we've been doing with the Book of Exodus,
Mhm.
and trying to do then kind of corporately, been huge. It's been just
Yeah.
absolutely powerful and helpful. And so, man, I could go on. We have a
Yeah.
list of
Yeah.
habits that would be pretty crazy, but I think we have a basic pattern
Mhm.
of solid things. Be in church, seeking the Lord,
Yeah.
be with a group of believers, personally, get in the Word, pray. We talk about the pattern of prayer around here. Our prayer rhythm is morning, we pray the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Midday, we pray for that one. We keep our eyes
Yeah.
focused that God has made us for mission, and at the end of the night, we seek to pray gratitude for how God showed up in this day, even if it was different than what we expected.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think those few rhythms will change your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
One thing you just said, which circles back to where we kind of started, was in those Puritan prayers, especially, or the ancient prayers, you make them personal,
yeah,
and that's another thing in journaling is even when I've read scripture, I've then made that scripture personal. So there's a passage in Ephesians where I believe Paul's talking to the Ephesians, right? And he's saying like you to them. But I wrote that as a prayer and I changed it to me and
yeah,
I. And so when we make that personal, it comes alive,
Yeah.
you know? And so I would say to everyone, like, just make that personal. What works for you? We're not asking you to try to find 10 hours in your day.
That's right.
Start with 5
Oh, yeah.
minutes. Like, just stop
Yeah.
and give God 5 minutes.
So a pattern that picked up from oh my goodness, I hate it when that happens. Name is eluding me. Um, Daily Office. Pete Scazzaro. He talks about setting your alarm
Yeah.
and setting your alarm and just setting aside 2 minutes
Yeah.
and doing that
Yeah.
throughout the day. And if you're looking for the next step is to set that alarm and not like you said, you're not looking at trying to pray for an hour.
Yeah.
Can I set aside multiple 2-minute increments throughout my day? And I've practiced this some is I even put on the timer what I'm praying for.
Yeah.
And so I set that
Yeah.
early so that, oh yeah, I'm going to stop 2 minutes. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, it changes the rhythm, the pattern of your day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I think again we have probably rambled our way longer than we thought we would, but I hope these are helpful to
Yeah.
everybody. We're not doing it for our own sake; that is for certain. We love you all, and we are looking for. I'm really personally looking forward to Sunday. It's going to be really cool.
Good.
So join us Sunday
Yeah.
9 or 10:15.